ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। Now we have been discussing the Samudra Manthan pastime since last 4 sessions, 3 sessions actually, and today is the fourth one. And this discussion will be from the 7th chapter of the 8th canto. We began with discussion from the 5th chapter of the 8th canto, then which was entitled "The Devatas Appeal to the Lord for Protection," where the Devatas are in a compromised situation because of their offense towards Durvasa Rishi. And then further on, they appeal to the Lord, and Lord gives them this advice that the time is not favoring you. It is best for you to make a truce with the demons. And henceforth, he gives them a plan of how to churn the milk ocean. He gives them a process by which they can regain their powers. He doesn't immediately uh, restore their powers by his supreme absolute authority, in, but he gives them the process, right? So we discussed God helps those who help themselves. So having given the process, then the devatas then approach the demons, approach Bali Maharaj, and Bali Maharaj accepts their proposal, and they go to this to pick up this Mandar Parvat, this mountain, so that they can churn the milk ocean using it as a churning rod. And then we discussed that how everyone got crushed under the weight of this Mandar Parvat, and we discussed how the vibhutis of the Lord are so overwhelming that all the demigods and demons put together, they were not able to bear the weight of one mountain. So that is the vibhuti of the Lord. Just one mountain is enough to overwhelm all the devatas and demons put together. What to speak of all of us puny little uh, humans and other species, isn't it? And we also discussed the idea that there are some certain things which are within our purushartha, within our capacity, but there are many things which are beyond our purushartha, which are under the realm of daiva or the will of the Lord. And unless the daiva intervention takes place, it is not possible for human endeavor to achieve those feats. And it is at best a mimicry. Our Purushartha is at best a mimicry. We discussed that how we can make the satellites float, but we can't make the planets float. Uh, we can destroy lives through weapons of mass destruction, but we cannot restore even one single dead person back. Mm. And we have increased the quantity of food production, so to speak, using chemical means, but the quality of food has been very severely hampered, leading to cancer and other diseases. So we discuss a lot of things that how humans have to realize that they can't replace or substitute the position of God. And so and if we try to unnecessarily endeavor for that, we create more destructive results than constructive results. And further on, Lord Vishnu, who he personally comes, and on his Garuda, with his one hand, he lifts up the mountain and places it on Garuda, and Garuda then carries the mountain the Supreme Lord and all the Devatas and Asuras on his back and flies them to the milk ocean effortlessly. So a devotee of the Lord gets empowered to do humongous, impossible feats, which are which are otherwise not possible even for celestial beings such as the Devatas and the Asuras. Now we'll begin the discussion on the seventh chapter entitled "The Lord Shiva saves the universe by drinking poison." Now, at this point in this first time, when Garuda has brought in the Mandar Parvat and all the Devatas and everyone has arrived, it is time for the churning rope to be brought in. The rod has come in, the rope is Vasuki, and we discussed that Garuda, being a natural enemy for Vasuki, it was not befitting for Garuda to stay there. So the Lord indicated to him that your service is over, now it is time for you to move on from this place. So he was not even allowed to be a spectator in that situation. So in that context, we discussed uh, that when to stay in a service and when to move on. That requires that humility, and so that is another thing we discussed about being a first class servant is only attached to the pleasure of the master and not to see the results of the service. When when someone sows a seed of an apple tree or a mango tree, probably they might not be eating the fruits of that tree. So they do it selflessly, as a knowing that not me but someone else, maybe someone down in the generation, will reap these fruits, just as someone else in the past had sown a seed and I am reaping the fruits. So similarly, the seed that I have sown will yield fruits for someone else. So that maturity is shown by Garuda, that my service is now over, and the fruits will be reaped by the Devatas and the demons. So he moves on from that place. Now the first verse, let me read the translation. Shri Shuka Uvacha Te Nagarajam Amantrya Falabhage Navasukim Paribhiya Girau Tasmin Netram Abdhe Mudanvita Are Bhire Surayata Amritarthe Kurudvaha. Shukdev Goswami says, O best of the Kurus, Parikshit Maharaj, the demigods and the demons summoned Vasuki, king of the serpents, and requesting him to come and promising to give him a share of the nectar. They coiled Vasuki around Mandara mountain as a churning rope, and with great pleasure they endeavored to produce nectar by churning the ocean of milk. There's a lot of wisdom packed in this, which we'll try to unpack. Vasuki has been signed up for a very, very terrible task. If we, if if only he had understood the consequences of what he had signed up for, he would probably have had second thoughts. Uh, he was signed up for being coiled around that Mandar Parvat and being used as a churning rope to be pulled as a in tug of war to churn the ocean. Now, to churn a bucket of water, also you can't use a thin string. Just to churn a bucket of water, you need at least a good rope, isn't it? What to speak of churning an ocean? We can't even endeavor to churn the water in a water body such as a lake. It is a very next to impossible task. But the churning of the milk ocean means that there has to be humongous torque, humongous force which is applied to be able to the whirl and churn the waters of the ocean. And this is not the ordinary ocean of this you know the Bhutala. This is the ocean, the milk ocean, which is much bigger than the saltwater oceans of this world. And Vasuki was being signed up to be the churning rope, which means to be able to churn the entire water, the entire milk of that milk ocean. His body would have to be, pulled in with great force, and it would cause him great shear and force, and pain. But why did he so easily sign up for this very tedious and terrible task? Because he was promised a portion of nectar. This is something very interesting to pay attention to. Vasuki signed up for this very, very terrible task, not realizing the kind of pain and trauma and suffering he might be going through, just because he was lured by the bait of getting some nectar at the end. And for what contribution? For just being a passive contribution, giving a passive contribution of being, pulled as a rope. So I will ask all of you a question: whether you have been in a situation and where you were promised very easy and quick results, you were promised very easy, quick, and very attractive results without much endeavor on your part. Were you in such a situation ever, where you were promised easy, quick, attractive results without much endeavor?
I mean, for studying for exams, teachers say that these are the few questions. If you just learn them, then you'll pass in the exam. So, very little endeavor but promise results.
Okay, quick results. Just these 5 questions or 10 questions, and you don't need to pour over the entire thick textbook. So, what did you do? Did you just pick up those questions only?
Actually, yeah.
Okay, and like the actual exam paper was from these questions only.
Yeah, it was an easy exam. So,
Okay. Okay, so well, good. Congratulations. It worked in your favor in that particular situation. But many times, when you are lured by easy and quick, attractive results, you end up paying a bigger price for it. I know one of my students uh, who saw a message on Telegram that get an iPhone for rupees 10,000. Now he's a devotee. Um, he's not yet turning 16 now, but he's a very sincere devotee. Just has been a couple of years connected. So he got lured by this promise that okay, just 10,000. Initially, he was not able to believe it, but then that person was sharing screens of Amazon order that look, this is landing, this will come straight to you. And so he was asking why only 10,000. He said, I am importing it in bulk, and there is no excise duty, no custom duty. And he said this is a stock, offer is still stock remains. So you tell me quickly. So this particular uh, boy, he got so tempted. He said that if an iPhone can come in rupees 10,000, then even if I lose 10,000, I think it's fine. But if it comes, I stand to gain. So he got tempted, and actually he picked up one. He purchased one, and then this other guy was so mm, insidious. He said that, okay, why are you only ordering just one? People are ordering three, four, five iPhones from me, and he sent him across order copies that I have sent so many copies, so many phones. So this boy, he ended up purchasing two for 20,000, only to find out in a few days that it was a scam. Beware of such scams. You might feel that how can someone act in such a very naive way, being carried away with such a temptation. But this is something which can happen to any one of us if we are not alert, if we are not conscious, cautious. Something like this has anyone of you heard or encountered in your personal lives?
So this has happened when they were the some of the scammers were asking us to make the comment on the Instagram post, and they will pay us 500 per comment or 1,000 per comment, like that.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. So there are many ways people are out there ready to, cheat you by offering such quick, easy results. And the common thread in all of these scams is that you are shown very attractive results, but the more attractive thing is that you don't need to do anything. घर बैठे 1 लाख रुपए महीना कमाए, yeah, without doing anything. So people fall for these kind of things, and the entire gambling industry, the entire um, uh, gambling industry is based on these kind of lures, where people feel that okay, just by if I visit this casino, I can become a millionaire overnight. And so many people fall for these kind of things. And nowadays you don't need to even visit a casino, your phone itself is a casino. Where there are so many apps which are nothing less than traps. uh, Even it is very openly advertised on the metro trains and everywhere. All of these apps are being advertised at 1x bet or so on and so forth, that you bet on the, the cricket matches and other things, and you stand to earn so much. But if you are little bit aware and mature, you will understand that without any endeavor, if I am reaping some results, it might bring a lot of karmic baggage. Because nothing in this world comes free, there are no free lunches. If someone is offering me something free now, there's a bigger price which I am um, obliged to make in future. And therefore all of these money making scams, or gambling, these are areas where people get duped, get misled because of attractive results which come easy and quick without much endeavor. So essentially, now coming back and connecting it to Vasuki. So Vasuki was offered a very attractive result of being offered nectar, and at the same time, he had to be just a passive element in that whole exercise. He didn't have to, be party to endeavoring very hard to pull this. He just had to be passive, like सो जाओ तुम और हम कर लेंगे बाकी सब. You just coil around this mountain and we will do the rest. He little did he realize that what would it mean to just be coiled and pulled as a tug of, in a tug of war. Yeah, so if something is offered very cheap, which is very costly, you better realize that you are in for a bigger price to be paid. Make sense, dear devotees? Does it make sense what I'm saying?
But Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes.
Not supporting gambling in any way, but sometimes if we get a result, it can also be that our punya from before which didn't pay off. Is that also a way to look at it?
Okay, so why guess your past punya? Create it for future. Um, that is also a gamble, isn't it? That we are hoping and expecting that okay, I can get results based on my past punya. But if you are doing that, you are just eating up your past punya rather than creating more punya for your future. So we should live with the philosophy that I should earn the results that I incur in my life. I don't want to take anything for free. We should live with the philosophy that I should give more than what I take in every sphere of life, whether it is your academics, whether it is your professional life, or whether it is in relationships. We should live with this philosophy that I owe people, and I should reciprocate and give back more than what I have received. When you live with this philosophy of giving more than what you receive, then you will find that you become richer financially, richer in terms of knowledge, and richer in terms of relationships in all ways. Because in giving, we receive. But if we become lazy and complacent in giving and just sit and expect like a python that the food will come on its own based on my good luck, then I would say good luck. Yeah, uh, we might incur more karmic debts and get implicated. Makes sense, with Priya?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Okay. Now Bhagavad Gita talks of action in three modes. Uh, the verse number 23 to 25 of the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita talks about action in three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And it says, so I'll read out what are the actions in three modes, and then we'll connect it back to this verse. 23rd. That action which is regulated and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitive results is said to be in the mode of goodness. 24th. But action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his senses and enacted from a sense of false ego is called action in mode of passion. 25th. That action performed in illusion, in disregard of scriptural injunctions, and without concern for future bondage or for violence or distress caused to others is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Now, I would highlight to you the characteristics of activities in mode of passion and ignorance. These activities are driven by fruitive mentality. For example, an activity in passion is driven by the desire to seek or gratify results, and the activity in mode of ignorance, it is driven by illusion. It is driven by dream. That people are daydream. They are always daydreaming that okay, I'll earn rich. I'll earn and become rich without much endeavor. So that kind of a mentality, which is daydreaming to become rich, to become successful without putting any endeavor, which is fraught with laziness and without concern of the future bondage, without concern for or without contemplation on the consequences. So that kind of an activity or endeavor is in the mode of ignorance. So we should steer clear of activities in the mode of passion, which are driven, which are very laborious and looking for gratifying one's senses, or activities in ignorance which are done in a state of daydreaming without actually putting any effort and without contemplation on what could be the results of my action. So these kind of activity we should avoid, whereas the activity in mode of goodness, which is regulated and which is performed based on scriptural injunctions without any attachment for the results, knowing that the results are in the hands of the Supreme, but it is my duty to act right, do the right thing, and whatever results come, they would be beneficial for me in the long run. So with this faith, whatever activities are done, they are always beneficial. So coming back to this verse, here we see that Vasuki, his endeavor was in, his action was in the mode of mixed passion and ignorance. He was desiring fruits, but without any uh, enthusiasm to endeavor on his own. Yeah, he wanted quick, easy results for himself. Okay, so now we move on to the next section. The next section from verse 2nd to 5th talks about that how there was now a decision to be made for the churning to take place. One party amongst the demons and the devatas had to take hold of the tail, and another party had to take hold of the head. Now, Vasuki is a huge, gigantic snake. It's a big, gigantic snake, and who has a lot of venom, a lot of poison, a lot of fuming, poisonous substances oozing out of him naturally. And if that snake with all of this poison and fuming substances is churned, is used as a churning rod, that that process is going to emanate a lot more poison from his mouth, lot more poisonous fumes from his mouth. So definitely, being at the mouth or being at the head of Vasuki would be a very dangerous position. And Lord Vishnu, Lord Ajita, he didn't want his devotees to be in that uh, um, difficult situation. So what he does, he plays a trick. He personally, so let me read the verses for you, and then we will discuss. The personality of Godhead Ajita grasped the front portion of the snake, and then the demigods followed. The leaders of the demons thought it unwise to hold the tail, the inauspicious portion of the snake. Instead, they wanted to hold the front, which had been taken by the personality of Godhead and the Devatas, because that portion was auspicious and glorious. Thus, the demons, on the plea that they were all highly advanced students of Vedic knowledge and were all famous for their birth and activities, protested that they wanted to hold the front portion of the snake. Thus, the demons remained silent, opposing the desire of the demigods. Seeing the demons and understanding their motive, the personality of Godhead smiled. Without discussion, he immediately accepted their proposal by grasping the tail of the snake, and the demons followed him. And the demigods followed him. Yeah, now this is very interesting and very insightful. Lord wanted the devatas to get the portion of the tail, and he wanted the demons to struggle with the head. But he did something contrary. He went up front and held the head of the snake. Why did he do so? Because he understood the psychology of the demons. The psychology of the demons is to act contrary or to oppose whatever is being done by the devatas. Prabhupada writes in the purport. That is the philosophy and the consciousness, the mindset of the demons. If the devatas are going left, they want to go right. If the devatas are going right, they want to go left. Basically, they are opposition for the sake of opposition. They are not having any principles, fixed principles. The only principle is that they want to oppose the path of religiosity. If the path of religiosity takes one direction, they want to take a completely opposite direction. And understanding this kind of a psychology of these demons, Lord went ahead and took hold of the head of Vasuki. And in no time, the demons started uh, whispering amongst themselves. You see, Lord Ajita and the demigods, they are taking hold of the head of Vasuki, which means that this head might be more advantageous. Holding the head of the serpent would be more prestigious, and because they want to uh, take that position of prestige because they want to uh, put us down. So therefore we must oppose this. We must argue and debate for getting the head ourselves. And they started saying, look, we have got a higher birth, we are more powerful, so you must actually give the head to us. They started advocating in various ways that why did they deserve the head instead of the devatas, saying that they have performed great activities, they have great accolades to their names, and so they deserve the head. Now, this is what the Lord already originally wanted, and without any argument, he immediately um, you know, agreed to that proposal. So, Bhagavad Gita in the 16th chapter talks about the thought process of the demoniac people, which says that the demoniac, they have this mentality of being the enjoyer, proprietor, and controller. And whatever it takes to take that position of being an enjoyer, controller, they are ready to do that. So let me read out these verses. So what is the consciousness and thought process of demons? इदमद्य मया लब्धम इमं प्राप्स्ये मनोरथम इदम अस्तिदम अपि मे भविष्यति पुनर्धनम असौ मया हतः शत्रु हानिष्ये चापरामपि ईश्वरोऽहम् अहं भोगी सिद्धोऽहं बलवान सुखी. What is the thought process of the demons? So much wealth I have today and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now and it will increase in the future more and more. He is my enemy and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am the perfect, powerful, and happy person. I am the richest, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. So, in this way, are the thoughts of those deluded by demoniac mentality. Understanding this kind of a thought process, that they always wanted to be in a prestigious position, Lord put them in a precarious position by duping them, tricking them to take up the head of Vasuki, which was emanating loads of fumes, and poisonous fumes were coming out. Now, what do we learn from this? There's something very important and interesting coming up. People in this world, they often vie for leadership positions. People often want to be at the top. They want to climb the corporate ladder. They climb the corporate ladder or the political ladder to be at the top somehow or the other, by hook or crook. But seldom do people realize the perils of a leadership position. A leadership position often comes with its own set of poison. A lot of criticism, a lot of envy is concomitant with any position of leadership. Now, looking from the side of the tail, the head seemed advantageous to the demons. So, people in this world, no one wants to be on the tails, no one wants to be a servant. But the Lord is showing here that the safest position in the world is being a servant, to be at the tail. Although people in this world, they all want to rush to grab the head, they all want to rush to be a leader. But the Lord is showing that the safest position and the most secure position is the position of a servant. Although externally it may appear that a servant is an inferior position, but actually servant is a sublime position. Being a servant actually gives you the power to influence people in the most profound ways. And therefore, the concept of being a servant leader is actually is becoming so popular. And unless you find a leader who is they say that I don't care how much you know till I know how much you care. Unless people find that attitude of service and care in their leader, they are not willing to submit. Hmm. So even to be a leader, one should be in the consciousness of a servant. Hmm. Those who are just interested in leadership for the sake of it, for personal prestige and pride, they are not yet aware of the amount of criticism, the poison of envy and criticism, which is just going to overwhelm them in near future. So this is something which we see, and Srila Prabhupada um, also, in this art of negotiation, we see here how the Supreme Lord, he tricked the demons to on their own ask and demand for that position of the head. So this is something about psychology, that when you are negotiating with someone, you must understand their psychology. You must understand their needs, interests, and concerns. And if you are able to fulfill their needs, interests, and concerns, you might end up making a very profitable uh, deal with them. So Lord understood what is the need of the demons. The need of the demons is to be in a position of prestige, and so therefore the Lord arranged things in such a way that they felt that if we are in the position of tails, we might not we might not get so much limelight and prestige. So on their own, they demanded that difficult situation of holding the head. So Srila Prabhupada was once with Tamal Krishna Maharaj. He was visiting Japan, and he was meeting with the officials of the Dai Nippon Publishing Company, printing press, and they were supposed to have a negotiation, about the rates for printing of the Krishna book. And Srila Prabhupada started off by quoting a very, very small and paltry price for printing, which was a great surprise for the Dai Nippon officials. Hmm. Uh, Actually, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, uh, you know, Tamal Krishna Maharaj reduced the price further, and then the Dai Nippon officials said that no, we can't. It will not even cover our printing cost, so this is too low. And then Srila Prabhupada, just allowed this discussion to happen in between them, and then he jumped in between and he said, okay, so I see there's a conflict between Tamal Krishna Maharaj, you, and the Dai Nippon officials, so I will try to mediate. And Srila Prabhupada offered an intermediate price, which was very advantageous for ISKCON. So understanding the psychology is very important to get to strike a good deal in negotiation. So here the Lord is teaching even that by his example, that he understood the psychology, the needs, interests, and concerns uh, of the demons, and therefore he organized things in a way that the devatas were in a winning position. So yes, so these are some things from this section. Any questions or thoughts? One thing which I would like to uh, emphasize and bring up in this discussion is that often we don't, it is always easy to, uh, you know, criticize someone in the position of leadership. It is always easy to find faults and flaws in someone who is in a position of leadership. And therefore, leadership positions are not very easy to handle. Because everyone is, first of all, it is a high pressure situation. You are supposed to organize and manage a big enterprise, a big project, and while you are having that burden, most other people, they are just waiting to find a fault, or look for a flaw in your execution. But and you don't get that much support. So it is very easy to find faults and criticize someone, the mistakes of someone in a leadership position. But when you yourself come in a leadership position, you understand how difficult and how tough it is, and then you develop some appreciation for those who are actually handling leadership positions. It is very easy to find faults and malign the character and competence of someone else in leadership position, but we should empathize with them and be grateful to them, knowing that the task which they are doing is next to impossible for us, and rather than criticizing, try to support them in the best possible way which we can, in a constructive way, rather than just being on the sidelines and discouraging and uh, giving out comments and criticisms. Yeah, so you can think of such leaders of the family, your own parents. It is very easy to find fault in their parenting, but you won't realize how difficult their job is till the time you become a parent yourself. It is very easy to find faults and flaws in your teachers or in your school, but then once you are in that position, you realize. Or it is easy to find faults in the leaders in a spiritual organization, but it is very difficult to manage things once you are in that position. So let's empathize with those in the leadership position, and rather than spewing out poison on them, let us support them and help them in that endeavor. Okay, so should we take up another section, or are there thoughts which you want to churn as well? Okay, I'll take one last section. Now, now that the demons have very happily picked up the head of Vasuki, and the demigods, they have very humbly taken up the tail, and all through this entire episode, the demigods are just silent. They are simply following the instructions of the Lord. When Lord Ajita took up the head, they humbly went and held the head. And when the Lord agreed to the demons and held up the tail, they also didn't argue or debate. So that was to the credit of the devatas. Now the churning has begun, with the demons pulling from the side of the head and the devatas pulling from the side of the tail. They encounter yet another problem, which is the problem of the sinking of the Mandara Parvat. The 6th verse onwards, we have this discussion. I will read the verses for you. When Mandara mountain was thus being used as a churning rod in the ocean of milk, it had no support, and therefore, although held by the strong hands of the demigods and demons, it sank into water. Because the mountain had been sunk by the strength of providence, the demigods and demons were disappointed, and their faces seemed to shrivel. Seeing the situation that had been created by the will of the Supreme, the unlimitedly powerful Lord, whose determination is infallible, took the wonderful shape of a tortoise, entered the water, and lifted the great Mandara mountain. When the demigods and demons saw that Mandara mountain had been lifted, they were enlivened and encouraged to begin churning again. The Mandara rested on the back of the great tortoise, which extended for 800,000 miles like a large island. 8 lakh miles. It is something which will go beyond our contemplation and understanding. O king, when the demigods and demons, by the strength of their arms, rotated the Mandara mountain on the back of the extraordinary tortoise, the tortoise accepted the rolling of the mountain as a means of scratching his back, his body, and thus he felt a pleasure sensation. It is sensational to hear this. 8 lakh mile long kurma, tortoise. That is the Supreme Lord. When he takes the form of a tortoise, uh, it is achintya. So it's quite interesting that the demigods and demons are facing one obstacle after the another. At every step, they are finding there are obstacles. First of all, when they went to bring the Mandar Parvat, um, it crashed on them and they had serious injuries and deaths. Lord revived them, brought that Mandar Parvat. Then after that, there was this conflict about who will take the head, who will take the tail. That was also resolved amicably. And now there's another obstacle, which is they have started churning, but this mountain starts sinking in the ocean because it doesn't have a base. Because for churning, you need a base. So, in any enterprise, in any endeavor that we make in life, we cannot expect a red carpet or a rosy carpet. There will always be challenges, obstacles, impediments. If you are aiming for something worthwhile, something valuable, expect obstacles, impediments to come your way anytime. But um, when you are when you have taken up some very huge enterprise or endeavor, you should make sure that you have a solid foundation in place. Without a solid foundation of solid spiritual foundation, when you take up big enterprises and endeavors, you'll find that eventually that enterprise or endeavor, the entire weight of that endeavor will sink the whole thing and drown you also along with it. So there has to be solid spiritual foundation behind any big project or seva goal that we want to accomplish. Without that, we will just be carried away by the weight of the successes and the failures. And there have been ample examples of people, uh, you know, making big Mandar mountains of endeavor, and being crushed and sinking under that weight of that big enterprise and endeavor themselves. Recently, um, you know there has been news about um, Baiju's becoming bankrupt. So, what one thing which has been one reason which has been ascribed is that success went into the head of its founder, Baiju Ravindran, who didn't give pay heed to the advice of other people, of the investors, and went into mode of acquisitions and so on and so forth. So when you are just in the mode of achievement and accomplishing bigger things without the humility and without the spiritual foundation, then that enterprise and endeavor will sink you and itself under the weight of that whole endeavor. So having a strong spiritual foundation is very essential if you want to achieve something big in life. If you look at the life of all our acharyas, before Saraswati Thakur went on to establish the Gaudiya Mutt, he took a vow of chanting 1 crore holy names of the Lord, 1 billion holy names of the Lord. It took him some uh, 4 5 years to do that. If, when you look at Srila Prabhupada, he had a lifetime of struggle before he established ISKCON, right? He had a lifetime of endeavor, of a spiritual foundation. He went to Vrindavan, he wrote the Bhagavatam, and on the basis and the foundation of the Bhagavatam, he said, I am not going to the America, the Bhagavatam is going to America, and I just happen to carry the Bhagavatam with me. So that is the mood of a spiritual conqueror who has a solid spiritual foundation behind one's lofty spiritual goals. So this is something which we can learn from this particular section. Now we'll close our discussion with any questions or reflections that you want to share.
Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, very much, Prabhu.
I think thank you for your wonderful class. I think I think two reflections that came to my mind is that in the Vedic system we see the understanding of Dvija, or the need to be reborn. So similarly, you even hear of the phoenix that had to rise from its ashes. So both the demigods and demons, they had to be quite literally reborn to be able to be qualified to do the churning. Another reflection I had was, I think something I was reflecting on my own life. That is that I think, especially when you're in the city, especially in a place like Mumbai, in a household in Mumbai, I was thinking of class by Rasnath Prabhu in the Bhakti Center. And he was saying that when Ravindra Swarup Maharaj had to clean up ISKCON, his intensity of sadhana, he multiplied by many magnitudes, because he did not want to commit offenses to those who were spiritually superior to him. So I think that lost art of uh, undertaking that churning to make yourself able is, I think, something that we need to imbibe. I think those were a few reflections I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Gopinath. It's interesting. Both of them very interesting, especially uh, the second one you said, that the example you gave of Ravindra Swarup Prabhu also, which confirms the thing that if you are undertaking some serious spiritual mission, it becomes all the more essential that we have a strong spiritual foundation ourselves in our personal sadhana. There has to be utmost absorption, and then only we can actually withhold the pressure of the mission, the weight of the mission. Otherwise we will sink under the weight of the mission that is um, you know awaiting us. Yeah. And yeah, that is other one is an interesting one, Dvija. So literally the demons and the devatas had to be born again from the dead to be able to uh, become part of this wonderful endeavor. Yeah, something to think about, ponder about. Dvija means you get a second birth, and the second birth is the birth of knowledge. The first birth is the birth of the body, and the second birth is the birth of the consciousness. When you are given second birth by the spiritual master, you get a new paradigm, a new perspective to life, a spiritual perspective and paradigm of life, which gives you a new vision. So yeah, we cannot take up any spiritual mission or endeavor without being uh, in having a spiritual paradigm and spiritual vision, right? So makes sense, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gopi and Bhavesh, would you like to share something or ask something?
So one of the learning would be that you said that demonic and demigods were facing obstacles again and again in this process. So in life also, I think we face many challenges, and with the help of the spiritual master, we can overcome that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Actually, this is I missed this one out. All of these obstacles which are coming on their way, uh, the consistent theme has been that Lord intervened in all of these situations to remove those obstacles. Whether it was like now we have seen two or three obstacles which have come up, and there are going to be many more which will come up in the future. And amidst all of these obstacles and impediments, the consistent theme is that it was the Supreme Lord who intervened and removed those obstacles. And and on their part, the demigods and demons, they helplessly cried out in certain situations to the Lord to help. So yes, we can't deny that there will be these situations of obstacles, impediments, and reversals. But if a sincere sadhaka takes shelter of the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord, all of these obstacles and impediments will soon be addressed and removed. So thank you, Gopi, for adding that valuable insight.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so thank you, Bhavesh, Gopinath, and Gopi for joining. Let's close the discussion here for today, and we'll meet again next week. Very grateful to all of you for joining the discussion and keeping this discussion alive, so that we can churn the Srimad Bhagavatam, and at least on a regular basis, weekly basis, we can uh, dive and dip into the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.